Hi, everyone. My name is Heather. I'm the president of the board here at Astro, and we are at day 3 of Astro Live, our Astro Live Partner Showcase. And this session is with Stayfi, and we're actually fortunate enough to have the founder of Stayfi, Arthur. And you have such an interesting story as to why you started the company, and it really ties to a lot of what we've talked about throughout the last few days, and creating memories, connecting with guests, really being able to own your customer and communicate directly with your customer, expanding beyond just one channel. And how do you do that, and what technology do you need? And Stayfi really fits really nicely with solving for these problems. So Arthur, with that, I will give you the full stage and I'll let you take it away.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so the idea from Stayfi came from my experience working as a digital marketing consultant for professional vacation rental managers. And we kept coming across this persistent issue of how can you collect accurate information, so things like names, emails, phone numbers, from everybody staying in a vacation rental, not just the booker, and how do you introduce your brand to all those guests? And that's really how Stayfi was born, because we saw the best way to get in front of every guest staying in the vacation rental and collect their information was through the Wi-Fi. So we took the same type of technology you've used before in like a hotel, Starbucks, airport, and created it so that it would work well in a short-term vacation rental. And those are the only types of establishments that we work with here at Stayfi. So short-term property managers all the way from one property to hundreds of properties all around the world. And what I'll do is just kind of make it real is we'll dive right into the application so you can see how you can create these custom branded splash pages, introduce your brand, and start collecting emails from everybody staying in your properties. So this right here is an actual Stayfi account with a real customer called Branson Family Retreats, and they actually have 4 properties with Stayfi. So like I mentioned, we have folks of all sizes from 1 to hundreds of properties. And when you log into Stayfi, you can see right away how the system is performing across all their properties. So not only are we helping you with those branded splash pages, it's also a system that allows you to basically manage all your Wi-Fi networks remotely from the cloud. So when I look into this account, we can see they have 4 properties online. So all their Wi-Fi is working, and they have 5 access points, and I'll explain what those are a little later, but they're basically the device that's broadcasting this guest network in those properties. And right now they also have 8 guests online across all the properties using 14 devices. So obviously one unique guest can have more than one device in a property, and that's why you're always going to typically have more guest devices than guests online. And then below here, you can see in the last 30 days, they've collected emails from 114 guests. So we're collecting emails from all the different individuals in the property, not just the booker. And that's definitely what people find most valuable with the product. I'm going to show you right away kind of what these splash pages look like. You've probably used something similar before, but this is our splash page builder here. And you can actually have as many splash pages as you want. So Branson Family Retreats has actually created a unique splash page for each of their properties. So that means when the guest logs into the Wi-Fi for the first time, they're going to get a unique experience for that home. So you can really introduce your brand, your property, explain who you are, and that's super important. If that guest booked on an OTA like Airbnb, they're probably never heard of your brand. They don't know direct booking is an option. And here's a way you can make sure you introduce your brand to everybody staying in the property. So when I open one of these splash pages here, this is the editor. So this is really where you can customize that experience for the guest. So you can see here, they've uploaded their logo, a background image of that specific home, a welcome message, and then they're collecting name and email from all the guests that log into the Wi-Fi. So when the guests arrive, they select the Wi-Fi network. This pops up, they enter their information, and then they're good to go. And once the guest logs in, that device is authenticated for 30 days. So typically they only have to log in one time per device per stay. Now, here as well, there's a bunch of other options about other data you can collect. So if you want to collect phone number, that's an option. Birth dates, you can require a password. There's a bunch of options around collecting consent for marketing. So you can pre-check it. You can force guests to have to agree to the terms, and you can customize those terms here as well. And then finally, what's really cool is you can set a redirect URL. And what that means is all the guests that log in will get taken to the website of your choice after they log in. And this particular host uses touch-stay guides. So every single person who logs into the Wi-Fi is also getting sent to their touch-stay guide. And so you can imagine you've probably sent this to the booker through the automated messages in Airbnb or Vrbo. But this way you're getting this important information in front of everybody staying in the property, not just the booker. Once the guest logs in, we capture their data here in the guest list. I'm not going to show you the guest list because it has all of this customers' data. So I'm not going to show you what those are, but it's basically a list of all the emails and dates of when all the guests stayed at the property. But what's also nice is all of this data will also get sent immediately to whatever email marketing tool you're already using. So around 80% of vacation rental managers we find use MailChimp, and that's the most common one. So all the data gets sent immediately to MailChimp. And then there's some cool things I'll show you at the end that you can do in MailChimp with this data. Beyond that, there's also the power here to remotely monitor all your Wi-Fi networks. So you can see here, these have all been online the last 24 hours with more history down here. So you can even view, in the last 30 days, has the internet been online in all your properties? Yes, it has. And you can also monitor who's in each property. So under connected devices, this gives you a live view of what guests are in what property during the stay. So if you're ever wondering who's there, how many people are there, this will give you a view of all the guests and devices that are in the property. And one way we use this data is with occupancy alerts. So another nice thing is because we're managing all the Wi-Fi networks, we can also see if there's ever too many people on the Wi-Fi. And instead of counting devices like some systems do, we're actually counting unique guests. And that gives you a better idea because obviously one guest could have 5 devices. So devices isn't always a good proxy. And you can set that here. So you have actual occupancy alerts in each of your properties so that you know that there's never too many people on the Wi-Fi. Finally, one thing that people tell us all the time is the other great benefit of our system is it really simplifies Wi-Fi instructions for guests. Because all of your homes with Stayfi will actually share one guest network name. So when they tell their guests to join Branson Family Retreats, that launches the splash page specific for that home, and then the guests can get on the Wi-Fi there. And most people, because they already have an existing Wi-Fi network, when they set up Stayfi, they leave that running. So all of the TVs, door locks, thermostats that you already have on your current internet, you can keep that running as like a parallel homeowner system. And all your new guests will join this new Wi-Fi network that will present them the splash page. So you might be wondering, how do I set Stayfi up? It's super simple. You purchase a device called an access point. They look like this disc, and that plugs into the home's existing router, and that will broadcast the guest network in the property. And all of these devices are also mesh Wi-Fi devices. So if you have a property with 5, 6+ bedrooms, like one of the ones here, you can see they actually have 2 access points in Sky Retreat. So when you plug a second device into power, it will automatically mesh and extend the internet from the first device, so you can get full coverage in the property with the Stayfi guest network. I mentioned before, we have a ton of integrations with email, CRM, PMS providers, so that you can capitalize on all that guest data. One really nifty thing to do with the guest data is set something called an email automation up, and I'll show you an example here. What this means is every single guest that is sent into MailChimp gets launched into this 5 email campaign, and they'll actually receive an automated series of emails from MailChimp. And you can see from this one, they send an email right after the guest subscribes, then 7 days, 15 days, 30, and 30. And that way, not only are you introducing your brand to every guest, you're collecting their information, then all your guests are also going to receive an automated series of emails from MailChimp. And that way you can set up a campaign one time in MailChimp, and you know that all your guests are going to get emails over the next 2 or 3 months. And you don't have to be as worried about going into MailChimp and create new campaigns, which can take a lot of time, think of new content. This way, every single guest, when they go to the property, they'll get one of these marketing emails automatically. And we have a great blog post on stayfi.com that explains how to set up one of these automations and actually includes these templates so that you can actually download these templates into your own MailChimp and obviously edit the branding and the content, but the core structure is there so that you can set up an automation easily in your own MailChimp account. That is all I had for this presentation. So I'll open the floor to see if anyone has any questions, or if anyone from Astrho has questions, and I'm happy to just go through and explain anything in a little more detail.
Yeah, that was great at the end, how you talked about integration too. A lot of our partners and some of the folks have seen other presentations throughout the week talking about email capabilities out of their property management system, which is maybe more transactional emails. And this really ties back to maybe more marketing emails, but it sounds like there are PMSs that give you more marketing email functionality in addition to transactional. Yeah, do you mind going, because it looks like this is the view of just email providers, but maybe you can achieve some of what you're talking about. Okay, so these are some PMS providers. We just had OwnerRes earlier today.
Yeah, so most PMS systems, including OwnerRes, they don't have a system really built for email marketing with templated emails, like what MailChimp does, which is obviously pretty specialized. They really just have the transactional capabilities to communicate with the booker. So not really set up to send mass marketing emails to a large email list after the fact. One of the exceptions is perhaps Track, but that is actually using another product called Sendinblue. So even if there is an email tool in the PMS, it's often, not surprisingly, a white labeled version of another email tool because, why rebuild an email tool when there's hundreds out there? So most folks are going to have their own independent email marketing tool separate from the PMS 95+% of the time. And we find MailChimp is by far the most common one.
Because it's, I think too, just an important clarification is even though I might be connected to OwnerRes, some of that capability you showed about like emailing every email that you've collected after the fact and like with marketing messaging wouldn't actually be possible maybe in.
Yeah, wouldn't be possible in OwnerRes. And actually, so the OwnerRes and Guesty, like in Track's a little different because Sendinblue is kind of in there as well. But Guesty and OwnerRes, we're really just adding they have kind of like a guest database, CRM light in their tool, and we can add all the data there. But even when those customers want to do a mass email, they still have MailChimp connected. So a lot of folks will have MailChimp and Guesty or MailChimp and OwnerRes connected at the same time. So you can have one of each category because the data is really being used differently in the different tools. So for instance, one nice thing with Guesty is if somebody who was the non-primary guest, like one of the spouse or other adult party, and they rebook, if we had sent their email through to Guesty before, they'll come back as a return guest in the Guesty system, even though they weren't the primary booker the first time.
So then you can recognize welcome back.
Yeah, so that way you'll know that they're actually a return guest, even though they weren't the primary booker the first time, because we sent the data into Guesty at an earlier time when they were not the primary booker.
Okay. Yeah, that's a nicer like welcome back guest journey. The other thing that I thought was really helpful was the journey you showed that particular company created, that was not only am I capturing your email, but I'm also making it really easy for you to experience the home and the location with the touch state guide. But could that also be, maybe I don't have the touch state guide, but I have a page on my website where I talk about what to do, or I think you were saying too, you can direct folks anywhere that
any website. So a lot of people just do the direct booking site. Obviously, since your assumption usually is the guest is not aware that direct booking is an option, especially an OTA guest. A lot of people, they have a great website. They're like, of course guests know, but they usually don't know, especially if they booked on Airbnb. So send them there. If you have a page on that site that's specific to a home or how, property or the area, that's maybe a little more value information for the stay, definitely recommend going there. And then I always like TouchStay, Rubaru. We now work with this company called Folio, which is this particular application, which is nice because it's like really built for mobile with like a QR code if you get it on desktop. So we partner with all these different companies, and that way every guest is getting this information, and then always these guest books have links for direct book.
And what was the other? Oh, Arthur, did you freeze? Oh no.
And many times people actually, in our experience, will book the next trip while they're staying there at the same property. And that's actually a pretty common behavior we see for repeat booking.
And you mentioned these TouchStay, Folio, and I think a third one. Is that something available?
Rubaru.
Oh, Rubaru.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of different deals from our different partners. So right now we have a Hostfully guidebook and TouchStay guidebook promotion, so people can get like a free trial, and then we'll be adding 2 more soon with actual like promotional offers here. So if you are interested in trying one of these guidebooks, definitely come through our site, and you can get like a 14, for instance, free TouchStay guidebook trial when you redeem the offer through the Stayfi application.
And then we did, thanks for the chat reminder. I think this was from Heidi, to talk about how much it costs, but also what the perk is for Astrho members.
Yes.
Or Astrho Premier members.
I know we have a perk. I don't know off the top of my head the exact details, so I need to just take it. Sorry about that. I should have checked.
No. Yeah, I don't have that off the top of my head either, but I know it's definitely related to a free trial.
Yes, although yes. So the way that it works,
what the barrier to entry is so low, right?
Yeah, so you purchase the device, and the most common device people purchase is this thing called the long range access point, and that's going to have like 20% more Wi-Fi coverage than a traditional like router you get from the ISP. Once you set that up in the home, it will broadcast the guest network in the splash page. Therefore, Astrho members, there's no recurring cost for the first access point. So if you just want to try Stayfi and there's no commitments or contracts, you can just order one device, set it up, and then you'll have that free guest Wi-Fi system running in your first property. For additional properties, there is a monthly charge. It starts at $6 a month per property, and then it goes down as you add more properties. So for instance, if you had 100 properties or more, it's $4 a month per property. So like $400 a month for 100 homes.
Yeah, really affordable, even then if I just have one home at $6 a month, to really improve the guest journey, capture the guest information, and like you said, more than just the booker. So really powerful in that regard to drive repeat bookings and brand awareness. Yeah, really interesting product, and I think easier to set up than folks might think. So
yeah, so if you to actually plug it in, it takes about 5 minutes. You change the guest Wi-Fi instructions, and you're really good to go. And creating the splash page is super easy here in the portal, and you can do all of that in advance. So when you actually go to the property, it's like a 5-minute process. Set it up, and you're good to go. So we want to make it as easy as possible, because we know that property managers are so busy, and we want to take away issues and questions around internet and cause less work. We never want to add any more work. And that's definitely how we approach the product and how we build additional features going forward.
Arthur, this was awesome. I know we're at time. Any final thoughts, or reminding folks how to sign up to close?
Yeah, so if you go to stayfi.com, you can create an account here under the sign up button. There's, like I said, create an account. It never charges you until you have more than 2 properties live in the system. So if you just want to go in and play around and make a splash page, there's no reason why you can't do that. And then in there, you can find an email or on the website. You can email me directly at arthur@stayfi.com if you have any questions or want to set up a one-on-one time to discuss and do a demo. So just let me know, reach out to me, and we can get you set up.
Love it. Really love what you've done. Such a needed feature for the industry. So thanks for your time today. And we
Thank
look
you.
forward to doing more sessions with you too in the future.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for setting this up. It's been
Have a great
fantastic.
rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.